Zeta Ridge 7 sent a super chat. Ultimate total side domination.
If she can't copyright strike it, I will ratio this her video in like a day, probably. Watch it happen. In a press release, Nickelodeon says Seven Havens will be set in a world shattered by a devastating cataclysm. A young earthbender discovers she's the new Avatar after Korra, but in this dangerous era, that title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Hunted by both human and spirit enemies, she and her long-lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the Seven Havens before civilization's last strongholds collapse. So, the thing people have a problem with here is that basically, because Korra opened the way to the spirit world, the world has seemingly gone back to the way it was in Avatar 1's side, where everything was, like, taken over by spirit shit, and there was only some pockets of humanity. So there's, like, 7 major cities where humans live now, instead of the 4 nations. Basically, everyone's problem is they're doubling down on all of the worst parts of Korra. Nobody liked the spirit world stuff. Nobody liked the dark Avatar stuff. And nobody fucking liked the Avatar 1 stuff. We never needed to know where the Avatar came from. It was fine being like some sort of cosmic divine order. I'm a Korra defender. I like Korra as a series. It's incredibly flawed. They were constantly being dicked around by Nickelodeon. So it's not really their fault how it turned out, but I thought like a lot of that klutzy stuff, like erasing all the past avatars and bringing the spirit world back into things and the Avatar 1 stuff, I thought that was maybe just, you know, time crunch issues. But now, they're doubling down on all that shit everybody fucking hated. Like, oh, okay, so this world we've grown to love and know this entire time is just gone now. Humanity's just had to start over. That's not very compelling. Like, for another series, maybe that could work. If they put this further in the past, maybe it could work. But, I don't know.
So, a new Avatar series has just been announced following the Earth Kingdom Avatar after Korra, and concerns the new Avatar and her relationship with her sister during a time where the stature of the Avatar has been severely damaged. And more than a few people cocked an ear that the premise sounded eerily similar to the one I pitched myself last year about
Who? Beyond your fucking tiny-ass fan base. And again, this isn't even her or her wife's art. Oh, thousands of people out there totally recognize this as similar to my concept, because everybody is reading Avatar Neva. Everybody! Neva? Oh, by the crust, it really is you! Fuck says by the crust. By the crust? When has that ever been uttered? This reminds me of like Aang walking around the Fire Nation using slang that's 100 years out of date. Hotman? 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 Flamey-o, Hotman! Stone's alive! Master Fala exclaimed. Fala choked on his tea. Thumping his fist against his chest as he cocked into his free mouth. As opposed to his mouth that wasn't free. Does he have 2 of them? Does this man have multiple mouths? What is happening?
About an earthbending avatar named Neva, primarily adventuring with her non-bending older sister named Lavi, and whose central premise was tearing down the established rules of what it means to be an Avatar story.
They never said the twin is a non-bender either, did they? Just that she has a long-lost twin. Never said it was a sister. Never said it was a bender.
Hell, according to the leaks, their names are Pavi and Nisha. Either I am weirdly on the same creative wavelength as Pryke, or I am having creative premonition.
No, because their names are obviously supposed to be, like, Indian-based. They're like, the guru, the chakra guru. There are, like, some Indian-like people in the Avatar world. They don't seem to belong to any particular nation. She is basically trying to imply that they ripped her off, or she's thinking of the same things as them.
The announcement comes alongside continuing buzz that a film about the original gang is in production, though strangely enough, no actual art or visuals have been released. That's likely because there aren't any. The film is slated for a 2026 release date, meaning it's likely still being animated as we speak. As for the series, it doesn't have a release date and is a single 26-episode season. Actually, Lily, it's like 2 13-episode seasons. Shut up! Shut the fuck up! 13 episodes is not a season. 8 episodes is not a season. 26 episodes is a season.
So we just have Lily beating women. That's good. That's good. Lily, a season is whatever the network or platform that airs it says it is. 8 episodes can be a season when it comes to streaming. I know you don't like that. Personally, I like shorter streaming seasons, where the episodes can be any length the creators want. This is easier for production. It's easier to watch. You're not getting things dragged out. The only reason shows on American television were ever, as long as they were, was to keep people coming back to a particular time slot every week in order to advertise to them. There's no rule that says a season has to be 26 episodes. Remember how she was gonna be more positive and happy and shit? Remember that in her rebrand? And now she's just meaner than ever?
The leaks contain nothing but concept art, and there's so little material to work with that clickbait channels have been resorting to hiring artists to make visual aids, or just using AI-generated thumbnails, which are very clearly pulling from a very limited dataset.
Nobody is copying you, Lily. Nobody is copying your shitty fucking fanfic. Most of these people have probably never even heard of it. Like, this is Chris Chan levels of delusion. Do you think you have millions of fans just out there?
Even if they had art to show, I'm not sure they'd be all that willing to show it anyway.
They weren't willing to show the leaks either. That's why it's a leak. Somebody broke their NDA to leak production material to the internet when they were not supposed to. So why are you acting like this is something the company deliberately decided to do?
Because Avatar is a series that exclusively features a non-white cast, and you already know how the usual suspects are gonna poison the well for months.
Lily, the original Avatar: The Last Airbender came out in 2003? 2006? Somewhere around there, and everyone knows there's no white people in it, and nobody ever had a problem with that, and it's a beloved franchise. What makes you think people are suddenly going to start complaining that there's no white people in Avatar? Are you fucking retarded? Well, that's a rhetorical question. Of course you're fucking retarded.
John Williams sent a super chat. People hated white people in movie adaptation that simply doesn't exist.
Yeah, everyone complained about, like, some white Nepo babies playing Katara and Sokka in the fucking M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie.
Oh, as we demonstrated at the start of this video, the Avatar fandom is stupid.
Turn the friggin' frogs gay! Do you understand?
Did she just find out about this fucking meme? It's like her suddenly being into the human centipede. Like, you are years late to internet humor. The Avatar fanbase are fucking idiots. Are you not part of the fanbase, Lily? You only are when it's convenient, I guess.
Avatar's fanbase has never really been known for being able to process information in a productive way. To this day, a lot of people are convinced that the Avatar can't bend more than one element without Rava, despite us literally seeing Korra do it herself.
Who says that? Nobody likes the Rava shit. Like, Rava was not a thing in the first series. She is a retcon, you know?
When the setting of a post-apocalyptic series after Korra, where the Avatar's reputation in the mud, led a lot of people to believe that this makes Korra the worst Avatar because she destroyed the world. Okay, so the Avatar fandom has always been weird about Korra in relation to Aang because woman, dark-skinned, brash and aggressive, you...
Lily, you're saying this like you didn't make The Legend of Korra is garbage, and here's why. You say this like you haven't been complaining about this show for years. You say this like you don't think the scene of Korra getting mercury forced into her body is, like, sexual.
Korra's torture porn scenes are even more torture porn than before. Hypothetically for children.
She's just a contrarian. Now all of a sudden she's a Korra defender.
Korra can't get away with half the shit Aang was able to get away with because the fanbase ripped her to pieces every single...
What did Aang get away with? Like, what is the worst thing Aang did? Like, lie to Katara and Sokka about where their dad was? Run away when he first learned he was the Avatar? Like, what is the worst possible thing he did? Honestly, I'm asking.
Korra gets blamed for losing the connection to the previous Avatars when it was Unalaq and Vatu who did that, and...
Well, yeah, but it still happened in her series and was a really stupid fucking idea. Lily, I think you get confused between people talking about Korra the series and Korra the character. You have to pay attention to which one people mean when they give these opinions.
But that's not a Korra problem, it's a Bryke problem. Bryke didn't write that because Korra is weak. Bryke wrote it because they wrote a brash, pompous 17-year-old girl specifically to take her down a peg and make her listen to her hairy dads because they are 50.
Or because Korra is the opposite of Aang. She's brash, she wants to be the Avatar, she thinks she already has everything figured out. And yeah, an arrogant character like that does need to be taken down a few pegs in order for the narrative to work, because otherwise, what the fuck is the point of having a brash, arrogant hero? They have to learn something. Otherwise, we don't like them. If she's just out there being a Mary Sue, with no flaws and no failures, she would be unlikable, Lily. Something you don't understand about writing characters.
Korra as a character for this is about as nonsensical as blaming Aang for almost ending the Avatar cycle completely, or locking himself off from the Avatar state because he couldn't let go of Katara. Hell,
And people do criticize him for that, though, for not being able to let go of his worldly connections to reach enlightenment. But go off.
blaming Korra for the world ending is like blaming the 100-Year War on Roku. He did stop the war, and then Sozin killed him for it. This is literally—
Lily, it seems like you would be the type to say he should have killed Sozin when he had the chance and not let him live just because they had a long-term friendship. Where's that attitude you usually have? You should be saying it's all Roku's fault because he didn't kill Sozin when he had the chance, and the 100-Year War was directly because of him.
literally the answer to when the world needed him most, he vanished from the start of the series. There was a century-long period of no Avatar, the world went to shit, and a lot of people are angry at the Avatar for not stopping the Fire Nation. And it turned out that what happened was the previous Avatar was killed and the Air Nomads were wiped out and nobody knew.
Actually, what happened was Aang found out he was the Avatar, ran away during a storm, and to save himself in the storm, he went into the Avatar state and encased himself with ice, and he was encased in that ice for 100 years. That's why the Avatar was missing. 100-Year War would not have happened if Aang hadn't run away and gotten himself trapped in ice for 100 years. That is literally the catalyst of the story. So, what are you talking about?
If you want a likely culprit, I would suggest it's probably the Spirit laser cannon the size of several submarines that can rip through the very fabric of reality and form an entirely new spirit portal. You know, if something's gonna cause the Avatar equivalent of rapid onset climate change, it was probably that, you
Lily, who opened the spirit portals? Who decided, without asking anybody else in the entire world, or letting people put it to a vote, to just open the spirit portals? Who decided to do that, Lily? Oh, it was Korra. It was Korra that did that.
Leadership passing to some of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet and capitalistic billionaires causing destruction and war to enrich themselves.
Fuck you, Varric is based.
Any of these things could have caused a global cataclysm, and it was probably the capitalism because—
But we don't know what the fucking cataclysm was that killed Korra. We don't even know what age she died at.
the Seven Havens were almost certainly created by Korra, or at the very least the damage was abated and lessened by her in some way. She probably can't fight—
You don't, this is just you speculating out of your fucking ass. Why did you have to make an entire video? This could have been a Blue Sky post, Lily. And we don't know how far in the future this is. Korra could have been like 100 years old and died stopping a cataclysm for all we fucking know.
She probably can't fight ecological collapse regardless of the cause, and all the Avatar can do is mitigate the damage.
It's not ecological collapse, it's spirit vines everywhere. And Lily, who opened the spirit portals without asking the rest of the world if that is how they wanted to live? Opening the spirit portals was the worst decision she made, and I can see her living in infamy for that, because it fundamentally changed the world as everyone knows it.
I promise you, it will turn out that something, be it the Havens or some technology the Havens use, was created by Korra and could have very likely resulted in her death. But
The fuck was Korra an inventor of technology? Why wouldn't it be made by Asami, the actual inventor?
Lily, it says the public view the Avatar as humanity's destroyer. So? It says seen as. It doesn't say is.
Look at Pixie flinching, thinking that Lily is going to hit her again. Yeah, Lily, you're really telling us that you care about victims of domestic violence when you have your straw man character cowering from you, afraid you're going to slap her in the face again? What the fuck is the matter with you? Like, honestly.
I don't know if any of you have noticed, but the general public in the world of Avatar is really fucking stupid. It looks like China, but it acts like America most of the time.
Doesn't look like China, it looks like South Asia, Lily, but of course you probably think only China and Japan exist, I'm sure.
Even in Legend of Korra, her biggest hurdle is the fact that she can't get anything done because brainless morons just keep getting in the way and blaming her for things she has no—
Weren't you on the side of the Equalists, Lily? Were you on the side of the Equalists before? and said that they wrote it badly because the Equalists should have been based and right and correct.
Amon and his Equalists are a direct parallel to the Occupy Wall Street movement, so for Korra to take what was at the time a very present movement and turn them into a pack of uncoordinated thugs radicalized by a deceptive con man is bordering on actual propaganda. But it also lets you keep Amon as a villain while making a much better and more politically biting point without demonizing objectively good movements in the process.
I seem to recall that.
Half the villains in both The Last Airbender and Korra have manipulated the gullible public into going along with something completely terrible. One of the villains is just straight out, we should plunge the world into chaos for the true freedom.
Lily, you'd think you would like anarchists. You know, like, she tries to pretend she's like a radical hyper-liberal, but she always comes down on the side of authoritarianism.
And creates a power vacuum for a dictator. Goodness, Sahir.
Okay, you understand that now? You understand that now? In the past, she would always be like, oh, Kuvira shouldn't have been a villain. Kuvira had all the right ideas and they just made her a villain for no reason at the end.
This is where I end up conflicted because everything about the story would work so much better if Kuvira wasn't a villain, but Kuvira as a villain is fucking fun. She's the first fun villain the series has had. It's like her presence was written first and then stuck in the worst possible place for her to be. Yeah, remember that really nice Zaofu guard from the previous season who was carrying the entire team? Yeah, she's evil now, I guess. It's been 3 years and Kuvira has brought most of the states back under the banner of the Earth Kingdom with only a few left to go. Now, throughout the last 3 villains, I've made the point of saying that Bryke's belief that the need to have a villain has actively hamstrung most of the stories in Korra. All of them are about things that are better served without the need to make one party solely in the wrong to protect their precious status quo.
So here comes Lady Stalin, Kuvira, to start slowly forming a coup to get rid of the royal family and the monarchy. You would think getting rid of monarchies is something you would like, Lily. Which is why you used to think Kuvira was based. And all of a sudden you know she's a fascist.
It's only a decade after Korra's death, the population of the Havens probably isn't the best and brightest of the world. The 7 Havens almost line up completely with the 6 nations, so at least one of those is going
6 nations? Lily, these are, like... Okay, if you really wanted to be funny, you would have put in the Water Floridians, for one thing. Like, she said this, and then couldn't think of how that makes any sense, but left it in the script, and left it in her recording, and didn't re-record or cut this out. Why?
If anyone caused the apocalypse, it was likely the United Republic, a kakistocratic capitalist dystopia where idiots get
I don't even know what kakocratic means, even. Kakistocratic? Demon of Light's got me, apparently. Kakistocracy, a state or society governed by its least suitable or competent citizens. Lily, are you saying mixing races makes everybody incompetent? Is that what you're saying to me right now? That a major world city where every single nation can come together in a big melting pot is a bad thing and creates incompetent people?
Korra is the subject of hyper-Watsonian critique, where almost every single plot event in Legend of Korra—
Oh god, Aunt! She's using Watsonian and Doyleist now, and I'm pretty sure this is your fault!
Korra is often called a terrible avatar because she lost her connection to her past lives, but she lost it because Rava was ripped out of her and destroyed.
But also, nobody likes the Rava shit. Nobody likes the Rava and Vatu shit. You have to delineate between when people are talking about Korra as a show, and talking about Korra as a character.
Conversely, when Aang was said to be a bad father due to personality failings that were abundantly clear in The Last Airbender, this was considered to be bad writing, because Aang is the perfect goodest little baby boy and can never be wrong. So when—
Yeah, see, I actually kind of agree with Lily on this. People are complaining about the view Aang's adult children have of him, and Aang we never experienced and that they did, and I like that. And I don't think Aang was a bad dad, because when Boomy and Kaya and Tenzin talk about it, they come to the conclusion that, yeah, they've all been harboring some maybe unfair resentment. And, you know, nobody's perfect, your parents are just human beings. And they all concluded in the end that they were overall a happy family. No one was saying that Aang was like a horrible father. He was maybe neglectful of his other 2 children because he had the pressure of trying to like keep the airbender culture alive. I mean, realistically, he probably should have had multiple wives to do that, but you know, children's show.
Male characters get Doyleist critique, female characters get Watsonian critique. Look, a lot of people have—
That is just a complete misunderstanding of what the Watsonian and Doyleist approaches to critiquing media are.
Look, a lot of people have been dancing around this when they talk about this stuff, but I won't. This is just misogyny.
Lily, that's you! You just showed yourself slapping your female strawman character in the face and her flinching at the prospect of you beating her again. And you have the gall to talk about misogyny. Fuck off, Lily.
This, but one of the ways in which bigotry manifests and tries to hide is in being hypercritical of someone based on what they are, treating a woman or a person of color or an LGBT person with far more scrutiny and bad faith than they would.
It has nothing to do with any of those things. She just happened to be in a series where they made a lot of lore decisions people don't like. And again, you have to clarify if someone is talking about Korra the character or Korra the show. Because people will just call the show Korra for short. I'm sure you know that, and you're just being disingenuous.
This is what reveals the bitch fit for what it is, the same misogyny that was going around last time. When the leaks first happened—
Lily, that's you! You have been shitting on Korra for like the last 10 fucking years, that's you!
the fanbase did not hesitate to show its disgust.
Well, the thing is, this looks like a fucking AI image, that's why everyone was kind of like, really? Is this real? I really don't like the costume designs. Like, the colors are just kind of and there's just too much going on. I just think these outfits are very uninspired, very mediocre. I think they need some more time in the oven.
There just isn't an argument for Korra being the worst avatar that holds up to scrutiny, or at least I haven't heard someone make one yet.
She opened all the spirit portals, which doomed the world to go back to the way it was in Avatar 1's time. That's pretty bad.
And if you want to make an argument for the world's worst avatar, it's actually Kuruk or Roku or Aang who take that title. Kuruk was straight up a lazy bastard.
We don't know anything about— he was on screen for a total of 3 seconds. We don't know anything about this dude. Yeah, this one dude who never even had his own show was definitely worse than Korra opening the spirit portals and changing the world fundamentally.
If I had been more attentive and more active, I could have saved her.
Okay, that's just him talking about how his fucking lover died and got her face stolen by Ko the Face Stealer. And, you know, that made him realize maybe he was kind of an asshole and he grew and changed, and this was his advice to Aang about his biggest regret in his life. And you're calling him bad for that? For making a human mistake that cost a loved one her life? And now he regrets it? Are you gonna talk about how the other airbender, air nomad avatar was telling him, hey Aang, as much as our beliefs matter to us, you are the avatar, you belong to the world, you're responsible to the world, you need to murk that motherfucker? Everyone was telling him to kill Ozai here.
Korra did not cause the apocalypse. The story is going to elaborate on that. Calm the fuck down.
You have no way of knowing that, and again, she is the one who opened all the portals to the spirit world, and now the world is covered in spirit vines. It seems to me like these two things are related to each other, because how the fuck else would it happen?
But the fact that the new avatar is supposedly a child means that the dishonest pretensions toward political subtext that killed Legend of Korra probably won't be repeated. It also—
well, Aang was also a child, and there was still politics in the original series. Remember the Great Divide, Lily? We both liked that episode. Me and you, Lily. We're the only 2 people in the world who like that episode.
Seems like Avatar Pavi, outside of solving a mystery, is going to get a chance to express her own identity. One issue I've had with Avatar as a franchise is an almost Zelda-like adherence to formula.
The fuck are you talking about? Korra and Aang are 2 very different people.
Team Avatar is the thing I usually point to, as Break have expanded on Avatar Roku, Kyoshi, Kuruk, and Yang Chen, and almost all of them are given a Team Avatar consisting of all their teachers, a token—
yeah, like, apparently you can't just be a solo hero and do everything on your own. You're going to have a support network. You're going to have friends and family and mentors. That's normal, Lily. You would know that if you socialize with anyone.
That adherence to formula gets old after a while. Problem is, fandom takes comfort—
old after a while? There's only been 2 shows. There's only been 2 whole shows, Lily. How is it stale?
What do I want to see, though? Easy. Given that the story is twofold about the Avatar reuniting with her sister and discovering the mystery behind why she's become so—
we don't know it's a sister, we just know it's a long-lost twin! Lily gonna be in shambles if it turns out it's her brother.
And discovering the mystery behind why she's become so hated, what I want to see is a story that explores those 2 things to its fullest it possibly can. So
you only want the Avatar to find her sister, because you're assuming it's a sister, and find out why she's so hated, but presumably she would know? Like, she's lived in this world. Presumably she would hear people talk about the Avatar before finding out she is the Avatar, I would assume. She's like street rat, riffraff, she's street smart, she would know things, right?
I don't want Seven Havens to take any of the traditional Avatar stuff. Build your cast differently. Give Pavi a different relationship with her bending. She's a child, so she's probably not—
You don't even know any details. Nobody knows any details beyond she has a long-lost twin, and she's the Avatar, and she's a street rat, and the entire world is in a post-apocalypse covered in spirit vines, which is probably the fault of Korra opening the spirit portals. You're criticizing a show you made up in your fucking head.
If you're going to have animal companions, don't just make it mascot and mount.
Why not just mascot and mount? What else do you expect an animal character to do? Do you expect them to be a big dramatic player in the happenings?
Pavi's relationship with her sister be front and center, and for fuck's sake,
Why?
Don't do a jealousy plot.
Again, we barely know anything about this series. And this is art somebody else paid for their channel? And you're just using it? Did you give credit, I wonder? No.
If you have to emulate one of the old pairs of siblings, you do Mako and Bolin, or Sok.
You know, Lily never talks about Mako and Bolin. They literally grew up on the streets and had only each other, but she never fucking talks about them, even though they're the exact kind of siblings she claims she wants. But, you know, they're not both girls, and she can't, like, secretly write about them making out, so, you know.
Do not do Zuko and Azula. We have—
Lily, between these two, are you implying that Zuko and Azula is some sort of incest? You put Adora and Catra, who you think are sisters for some reason, even though that was from, like, a third party who was gals being palsing them. And then you have the incest kids from the Lele. Are you implying there's some incestuous thing between Zuko and Azula? You fucking gooner.
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. Mimic Desna and Deska, the Dark Horse siblings.
Yeah,
Lol.
why are you talking about Desna and Eska, Lily? They're fucking hilarious. I love those two so much.
Let's face it, a big reason they blew up the world in the first place was that Bright doesn't want to deal with the existence of the United Republic in 2026 after the twin horrors of the Russo-Ukrainian War and the Gaza genocide.
How the fuck is Republic City like either of those things, Lily? Where are you getting the idea that they regret Republic City out of anything else in this, anything else in the series? You didn't explain, you just threw out, like, current events, look at me, I know current events, I'm smart, everybody, current events.
It would simultaneously deal with the issue of the United Republic's existence by making it apparent that this was always a mistake to form this—
Why don't you like this mixed melting pot of a city? Why do you hate it so much? Wouldn't the 7 Havens basically be 7 Republic cities? In effect, 7 human cities that are blended between all 4 nations? That's what they're gonna be.
It was the primary cause of much of Korra's grief as the Avatar, and was formed
How was Republic City her biggest fucking issue?
by her predecessor's fear of real impactful change. Do I think that's likely to happen? Of course not. This would require a severe progressive shift from Bryke, and I don't think that happened. They're only getting older and wealthier, and those are not ideal conditions to have some kind of great—
Oh, shut the fuck up, Lily. They're too old and wealthy to write good stories, but I like that they're doubling down on all of the worst decisions they made in the last series.
So I think my simplest, most reasonable desire is— good or bad, just don't recycle the same shit. Don't be boring.
Again, how the fuck is anything in Korra a recycle of anything in ATLA? They're two very different series with very different themes and very different main characters. Just because she has a team of people around her that are her friends? You know, like a normal thing for a protagonist to have friends and mentors in a piece of fiction, Lily?
I'm CD Call, thanks for watching.
Pixie was brought into human resources for repeatedly dead-naming CD, which was a deliberate bit and not CD still adjusting to her own rebrand. And then I slapped her a whole bunch. I slapped her right in her stupid fucking face. That gives me an idea for a bit I need to add to my April Fool's video.